There's nothing quite like a road trip. The open space, the getting away from it all. An endless stream of scenic beauty in every direction. And of course, the small towns like Mount Pleasant, Utah. That's where our discovery begins, just off Highway 89, right there in the neighborhood. We turn the corner and discover Wasatch Academy. And the amazing story of a Presbyterian minister who beat the odds and helped start higher education in the West. Welcome to Wasatch Academy.
Happy birthday to you!
First, Merida tours campus, greeted by a myriad of students.
Je m'appelle Fatim.
Languages, exciting courses.
You're going to actually put it, and you're going to kind of just dab it on and tack it down.
And sounds, all here at Wasatch Academy.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Here they are, all standing in a row. I came here for bio studies, I guess. More of sciences.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for 2 years. I've spent one more year here, but I wasn't in school.
So when do you plan to graduate?
I'll be hopefully graduating in 2 years.
Awesome. And your degree will be?
Hopefully in the sciences.
Some the size of your head. Give him a twist, flick of the wrist. That's what the showman said.
Awesome. So how long have you been playing?
I've been playing ukulele for 2 years. Made my own ukulele.
Beautiful. It's just beautiful.
我的名字是苏劲松，我来自台北、台湾。我其实在这边是在读艺术的。
Beautiful. Can you tell us in English now?
My name is Jason Su. I'm from Taipei, Taiwan, and I'm here to study art.
Andy, could you tell us what you've learned from other cultures here?
Yes. We have international class here, and we have international day here, and I learned some dance from Mali, and I also learned how to make sushi because we make sushi together after international day.
So what have you learned from other cultures here during your stay here?
I adapted myself and I taught myself how to think differently, and it helped me a lot in everything.
So what you're saying is that you opened up your views and helped them open up theirs.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Güle güle.
Mon copain.
Okay.
Mon copain.
Uh-huh.
This is fascinating, a different language every time you turn around here at Wasatch Academy. Exciting opportunities for the students in a unique small town environment. So did you speak any English before you came here?
No, when I came, I didn't speak any English. I could read and write a little bit, but the speaking was the hardest. I could hear perfectly what people were saying, but I couldn't reply. I was just standing there and looking at them. But the ESL program here at Wasatch is very good, and within a semester, I was able to pick it up quickly and speak English with everyone.
And you do. You speak English very well.
Taking classes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Merci Fatim.
Pas de quoi.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
We have 37 countries represented right now at Wasatch Academy, with about 140 or so students that come from other countries. I'm not sure how many different languages they speak, but they speak a lot of different languages. A lot of times learning English is their third or fourth language. We have students anywhere from Kazakhstan, from Mali, China, Vietnam, just from all over the world. We also have some from South America, such as Venezuela, some from Mexico, just from all over the world.
Bonjour, ça va?
Bonjour, ça va bien, merci, et tu?
Très bien, merci. Comment t'appelles-tu?
Je m'appelle Fernando.
And what are you studying here?
I'm studying basic high school things. For instance, English courses, science, math, a couple of extracurricular. I was in the snowboard and ski team and our season's over. Right now I'm just trying to get ahead and graduate so I can go to college.
Your English is beautiful, but you're not from here, huh?
No, I'm from Dubai, but this is my second year total in America and my second year in Wasatch.
So being around international students, have you learned something besides subjects that you learn in school?
I've learned quite a few things from these international students. For instance, their cultures, there are different social norms with each ethnicity. I've come to find out, like most of the Asian students stick together, and it's more of like a community-based thing, and it's fun to be around with them, just hang out, because it's just a different feel, different aspect, rather to your social and normal life that you live, which is by yourself.
And it's great, I'm sure, to learn from them, and it's the same way that they can learn from you.
Yeah, it works both ways.
Yishen Wang is a 3-year student. She's from Chiayi City in Taiwan.
Au revoir, à bientôt.
And Jessica will be attending University of California, Riverside.
Arrivederci. Ow.
3-year student from Bangkok, Thailand.
Freddie will attend Westminster College.
Goodbye, students. See you later.
So how did all of this start? Perhaps it's time for our Wasatch Academy history lesson. It's one of the most diverse teaching institutions anywhere. But in the beginning, being different could be dangerous. And founder Duncan McMillan had a pretty rough time.
One of my heroes in life is Duncan McMillan, Reverend McMillan, the founder of Wasatch Academy.
He wanted to go to Central Utah. They tried to discourage him. They said, there's never been anyone other than Mormons in this particular area. You're taking your life in your hands. But he was pretty determined. So they finally agreed to give him a small salary of $1,000 per year as a missionary to San Pete County.
When he came down here, there was really one dominant culture and not much room for expression for people of other cultures.
Duncan McMillan, the Presbyterian minister who wouldn't back down when it came to education, was the new guy in Mormon country. The story begins in this building, known as Liberal Hall in Mount Pleasant. In the early 1870s, it was the hangout for apostate Mormons. Liberal Hall today filled with treasures from yesterday. A microscope once used by chemistry students. A mason in Hamlin, Oregon, shipped cross-country by train and then wagon and played in the open air for curious onlookers along the journey. Plus original Ansel Adams photographs gifted to Wasatch in 1951, honoring his son's graduation. And this item, a portrait of the man who started it all. To hear the stories behind the walls of history here, we asked an expert, Donna Glidewell, to please have a seat.
Duncan McMillan was a Presbyterian minister who, because of his health, he had rescued 3 young women from a fire, and it damaged his lungs, so he was having difficulty preaching. So he was told by his doctor to find a high, dry climate. He thought about it various places and researched various places, and finally was intrigued by the possibility of San Pete Valley because he had heard that there were some dissident Mormons in San Pete that were looking for not necessarily him to help them, but just they were there, and he thought there might be an opportunity here.
This was Mormon country, and the Mormons were in charge. Formal education and preaching from an outsider, naturally, there was some friction.
He was a minister who, had a mission to expand the Presbyterian presence here in the Intermountain West, but he was also an educator and devoted to the idea of expanding the educational mission of creating schools.
He had heard a story that there was a threat against his life, which had happened frequently, apparently during his time here.
We do have this. We do have from the Salt Lake Tribune, June 23rd, Brigham Young arrived here and basically chastised the faithful Mormons for allowing a Presbyterian minister to remain in their midst and said, you know what to do.
Duncan McMillan was asked to speak in Ephraim, and he accepted that, and he went down there, but a friend whom he knew from Mount Pleasant said, he said, your life's in danger. He said, there are many people gathered down there that would pretty much like to shoot you. And Duncan McMillan replied, well, I won't be the first one to fall. And that's where the story started, with the gun on the pulpit. Then came the rest of the story that said that he marched to the pulpit, pulled a gun out, and laid it on top of the Bible, which we now know was not 100% true. He probably had a gun in his coat pocket, but that's where it remained.
The story about the gun, I'm sure Duncan McMillan had a gun. He probably had it around him.
This was the Old West, after all.
This was the West.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even part of the United States at that point. Whether or not he actually took it out, put it on the pulpit, he let people know that he was going to be ready.
He was willing to stand up for his principles, even under very threatening circumstances. And he brought difference to this area of Utah, to central Utah.
Duncan McMillan's obituary in the New York Times reads, he traveled to the heart of Mormon Utah, where no missionary had ever ventured, and where he often preached with his pistol on the pulpit. The story has become legendary, and McMillan's legacy of 43 mission schools and 23 churches remains an educational benchmark.
We express our deep appreciation for the wonderful restoration of this very, very, very important historic building.
It's a big event anytime they shut down Main Street in Mount Pleasant, Utah. It's Liberal Hall, about to open its doors after getting a long overdue makeover.
Anybody and all of you who've been living here for many years, you know the state, the condition this building was in. It was in a complete state of disrepair.
Our motto in our community is building upon the great work of the past to establish a brighter future.
Duncan, if you can hear us, what you did in establishing this school is beyond imagination.
What has been refurbished is everything. It was a careful demolition, but this thing was taken all the way down. The foundation was shored up, a seismic reconstruction was done here for earthquakes and so forth. There was originally adobe in the walls here, which was all removed as well. They used the original framing as much as they could, and they preserved as much as they could.
How hard was it to restore those paintings?
Most of the paintings just needed to be cleaned. They were very dirty, so a lot of them had a layer of old soot from the coal-burning stoves that needed to be cleaned off, and then maybe some yellowed varnish. But most of them were not a problem structurally, except for there was one portrait of a lady, I forget her name now, and she had some structural damage that needed to be fixed. So that would be like flaking paint and stuff like that.
So a good coat of fresh paint, so to speak, and Liberal Hall was just the place for the class of 1954, sharing stories and rediscovering the past.
I think the day I came down here with my parents and I saw the mountains.
All the trouble I got into is what I remember the best.
And when the boys would go into the girls' dorm, they had to yell, "Man in the house," but there was no rule on how loud.
It was not just a school, it was my home.
Wasatch was a wonderful place.
Way too many people in Utah don't even know about it.
The story of Duncan McMillan would not be complete without Sunday. A Sunday morning and a sermon.
So we're here just thanking God for this space and being able to worship this morning.
After a 3-year renovation, a celebration for the historic First Presbyterian Church in Mount Pleasant, which will serve as a music conservatory for Wasatch Academy students during the week and Bible studies, yes, on Sundays.
Pastor Sjogren, welcome to Discovery Road. Tell us a little bit about this building today and your sentiment about this place that it's been so beautifully restored.
We're so thankful that God has made a way for our congregation to be in our historic building that isn't ours anymore, and yet it's ours. So we're thankful for God doing that, but also for Wasatch Academy just having that vision of saying we're preserving this building, we're going to make it dual use, and then of course adding on. And the facility, I think, is going to be one of the most amazing in the state for music and performances. I hope it gets used a lot.
Every Sunday is a special day. What about today? Any special prayers or any special thoughts for Duncan McMillan?
I was up and here in the building about 6 a.m. praying. And there was that sense of a legacy. As a pastor, you know that a congregation has moved through its history with a lot of different people, but obviously Duncan McMillan is that big figure, sort of like an Abraham or a Moses kind of person as far as this congregation's history. And I just feel really very humbled, knowing that what he founded with God's grace and goodness is, we are here as a live congregation. And I'm looking forward to not just being in the building, but being out of the building as we live our lives out in the community. And how can we serve more? And what are the needs that we can be there to meet? And that's really our focus, is to say we are so thankful for this building, thankful for our legacy, and of course with our 140th birthday coming up, our theme is Faithful Legacy, Flourishing Future. We see ourselves as going forward from here, and not just being cloistered in a building, as beautiful as the building is. That's not our mission. Our mission is to be out in the community or on the Wasatch campus or wherever God leads us, ministering to people and their needs and sharing God's love with them.
A short walk, a Sunday walk from campus, and students can find a place of worship, just the way Duncan McMillan envisioned it.
How does it feel to have a church this close, actually it's on campus?
It's nice having a church so close to campus, so I'm able to go instead of having to try and ask a teacher, someone to give me a ride, so I can just go on my own, and I know that I won't have to bother people and ask oh, can you drive me here? So
I came to Wasatch because I thought the education was much better than back home where there were a lot of students, other than here where it's only 15 in your class, and yeah, it's a better education.
And what about having a church this close to you?
I think it's really good because we can just walk from the dorms to church, not having to go a long way, especially when it's cold or early in the morning for us. Yeah.
So what brought you all the way from Rwanda to Mount Pleasant?
Because I know Wasatch could offer me good education and the diversity to live with such a large group of people who I'd never have known before.
You make me cry when you said goodbye.
Getting to know Wasatch Academy is fun no matter who you are. International flags, like welcome banners, tell us that. And what better way to make new friends than while enjoying a meal, milling about with new friends, perhaps a birthday celebration, or computer games, maybe just good old conversation.
Now we could be together, baby. Long skies are blue.
So what's it like being a student here? Well, that was the assignment in this film class. Through the lens, tell us about your day here at Wasatch Academy.
I try to cater toward what students are interested in, so I get them started with learning history of film and in how they can use what they've learned along the history in their films to advance their artistic expressions and try to get them thinking about how they can show what they do in their daily lives in their films. So just recently we did a project called My Day in Wasatch. Kids took some footage while they were going through the daily lives and put it together to kind of show what their days are like and what they pay attention to every day and how they just show that in the footage. Wasatch Academy in particular have a very unique collection of students that come from all over the world. So it doesn't really matter where we are because we are there, we are here together, and we kind of create our own culture.
Creations, expressions, inspirations generated by students from all over the world, born out in one of the most unique educational models you'll find anywhere. Before long, you're right at home.
We got it.
Founders Day amid so much history. Plenty of former students, classrooms filled with current students. The dance of different languages floating in every direction. The energy, fun, and finally, the campus bell. Time for a victory lap around this wonderful place, and then back on Heritage Highway 89 with a suitcase filled with great stories.
Betty Hollingsworth Dawsey, class of 54.
Andy Wong is a 3-year student from Beijing, China. Andy will attend Boston University.
And my best memories are the friends I made and the great education it's given me.